Perfect. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We are Team 6, and we've called our project Lyrically. Our mission is simple. We aim to organize the world's music lyrics in order to help you action insights and determine trends. So we started our project by trying to use lyrics to try to understand the trajectory of certain artists' vocabularies and vernaculars over time. But we soon realized that we can use lyrics to understand a lot more. So the use cases here are plentiful, and as we'll showcase later. But here, first we'll take a look at a case study. Sorry, not sure what's happened to the slide.
Sorry. Well, I guess you got us a little bit of sneak peek, but looking at the case study, we decided to dive right into the evolution and look at Kanye's last 5 projects. And while looking at his albums, album by album, song by song, lyric by lyric, here's what we found. We did a comparative analysis and we got to see the trends across lyrics across the albums. And fun fact, when we looked at the word God, for instance, on the album Donda, we found that on the album Donda, it's being used the most instead of on an album like Jesus is King. But taking it a step further, we decided to look at the comparison between Drake and Kanye and look at their last 5 projects together and look at what was happening in lyrics on both of them together. And so if you look at a word like love, for instance, you could see how it's being used across albums, but interestingly, you could see how it is most being used by Drake in an album Certified Lover Boy, but and how it is being used by Kanye in an album like Donda. Zooming into it a little bit more further, you could see the commonalities between Drake and Kanye together. So you could see the words that they're using commonly, like no and got. And even more further, if you wanted to look at it an album-wise comparison, here's what it would look like.
So how did we build this? If you're curious about the specifics, please feel free to scan the QR code in the bottom and take a look at our GitHub and see how we've organized the 40,000 data points that we collected over the weekend. But essentially what we did was we collected all of this lyric data via Genius, we built a script to process it and essentially performed text mining to create tokens for each word. We then cleaned that data and then we visualized it in Tableau to sort of bring you that visualization that Ankita just showed you. And we want to emphasize that though we only analyze Kanye and Drake here, this technology can be used to any set of lyrics that you choose to analyze, whether that be your own catalog or to something as broad as hip hop words in the early 2000s.
So here we also wanted to provide you guys with some business use cases for which Lyrically could then be implemented, though usability is certainly not limited to these 4 realms that we are showing today. The first instance is within marketing and audio branding. So you're able to find songs that are lyrically relevant to your brand partnership for commercial use. We know that it can often be difficult to determine which is the best soundbite of a track to upload onto platforms such as TikTok. So for example, a brand like Fashion Nova might be wanting to find a song for their paid influencer content and might want to use a song such as Saucy Santana's Material Girl. Secondly, our tool would be relevant for music publishers to help index themes and topics to enable the searchability of your catalog before the recordings are actually made. Here, you could look at songs that contain the topic of dance or dancing, or search up keywords including move your body. Playlist curators and DSPs could also search for songs via keywords that fit the theme of a playlist, like romance, for example, within Valentine's Day playlists. And lastly, in the world of sync licensing, these folks could also benefit from easily finding lyrics that fit the scene of your episode or film, such as money-related keywords for the scene of a heist.
So what's next? We want to basically go over some of the limitations that we had too. So here, as we've evidenced, we've only used and processed the data from English dictionaries. As part of an adjacent issue, these dictionaries are also reliant on existing databases, making it very difficult to detect slang, abbreviations, etc. Lastly, we also weren't able to tackle natural language processing over this limited time. But helping essentially use natural language processing, we can also gain more understanding of the context in which words are used.
So what's up next for us? Well, we do want to integrate this with natural language processing so that we could understand context and perhaps use the tool to look at songs for a context like heartbreak. We want to integrate it with chart metrics so we can look at trends per geography. We want to integrate it with Museo so we can look at a mood-based playlist. And finally, an audience integration will help us definitely look at and audience-based segmentation. So how would you use lyrics to find opportunities? Well, it's time to get thinking because Lyrically is already here. Thank you so much for your time. And this is Team 6 again.
Thank you so much. Right on time. So Carlos, you have your hand up already.
Yeah, I mean, they touched in the last sentence on one of the things I would have loved to see lyrically as a way of correlating with audiences. So you can use it. How do I change lyrics or adapt lyrics to conquer new audiences? But one use case I didn't say, did you guys think about influencer marketing platforms? Reason for that is because they curate a lot of social conversations to know what different influencers are saying, and then brands, they typically curate negatively or positively to include or exclude. I think with lyrics, you just touch on something that I hadn't seen before, potentially. Maybe it's done manually, but I hadn't seen it on a platform, and you can license that back to the influencer marketing platforms.
For sure. So I think this is a really interesting topic to touch on because right now, obviously, just with the weekend and with the amount of data that we've processed, it's very difficult to sort of group and search by anything beyond the exact keyword itself. But I think as audience, the platform demonstrated, with grouping and with sentiment analysis, you can create these themes and topics by which you can index. And that makes it a very useful and very powerful tool to anyone who's actually looking to sort of gain those insights too.
Point being is today, without doing any integrations, just looking through the lyrics, you can already license some of the information to some platforms.
Absolutely,
you know,
yeah.
Potentially.
Great, thank you. Alexandra?
Thank you. Just a quick question about how did you manage explicit lyrics? Did you manage it or do you plan to do it?
Yeah, so part of the data cleaning process, and I'll let Aaron jump in here if he has anything to add, but we essentially went through it and we manually combed through some classic words that we knew were going to pop up. And essentially, we wanted to keep them in the database because they're valid, but we censored them and included them into the data set and kept them clean.
Yeah, I can quickly maybe add to that. So we got the data from Genius. Genius itself does not like censor data. So we did this manually. We could also like build a set of words that we like match with the data, which we like always have to, which we always want to like censor. But in this case, we did it manually. I mean, Maria did it specifically.